Again, thank you for watching Advanced Git Techniques, Subtrees, Grafting, and other fun stuff. And if you missed anything, head to the comment section to watch part 1. We received a lot of questions during the presentation, and we're going to do our best to answer as many as we can in the next 10-30 minutes. So without any delay, let's get started. So today we're going to lead off with a question that a few people have asked. And the question is, are there cases where you would recommend using submodules instead of subtrees? So let me give you a few parallels, like a few ideas of the differences so that you can make your own decision. So one of the good things about Git subtrees is that Git subtree doesn't store any metadata outside of the repository in configuration files, while submodules track which folders are paired with which repositories in a configuration file, in a dot file, in the root of your repository. So that can be, a cumbersome thing. So for some teams. On the other hand, Git subtrees are a bit opaque, are a bit, black box in the sense that the version that you're pulling from a repo is stored as a, SHA-1 inside the commit of your parent repository. Also, Git submodules, in contrast, also require you to add additional commits whenever you update the submodules. Only that those commits are not meaningful in the sense of actually storing content, but they only store, a small unique identifier for the commit that you're updating to. So my feeling is, it's a personal feeling, a personal opinion, is that Git submodules are slightly more complex to use. They require a little bit more commands, a little bit more management. And Git subtrees can be streamlined to be a slightly more efficient number of commands that you need to use. But this is, a personal preference. So it's no surprise that that was part of my presentation. What else? So in the end, which one would I recommend? If you want to track explicitly and have a list that tracks all the submodules you're tracking in a file, maybe submodules is the way to go. If only few people are updating these dependencies, then subtrees is very neat because the rest of the team doesn't need to know this tool very well. There's a few more things to consider, but I would say this should give you a general idea. The answer is not that clear cut, so there's not an absolute winner. So just to mention, Git subtrees is a facility, is a command that came after Git submodules. So is a rethinking of is a different way to solve the same problem. Okay, let's go with the next question. Does Bamboo trigger on a check-in into a subtree? So if you're using our CI build product, Bamboo, the question is, can you use it to kick off a build whenever a subtree is updated? The answer is yes. And if you think about it, my explanation of how subtrees work, a subtree in the parent project is just a simple commit. So whenever you do a pull from a sub-project, from a child project, that gets squashed into some content, and that content gets added into a single commit. And because Bamboo can notice whenever there's a new commit on your branches, and it can kick off builds or do actions in reaction to those actions, yes, of course, you can build whenever a subtree is updated. If your question was, can I kick off a build for a child project? Well, the child project's repository is living in his own repo, and that repo can be set up also with Bamboo. So in both cases, the answer is yes. Next question. Can you filter the content of a subtree? For example, only include files of type .hpp? So as with Git, because Git subtree commits are just regular Git commits, in general, Git doesn't have this facility of automatically filtering what goes into a commit and what doesn't. So especially for subtrees, there's not this distinction. But as I was thinking to this question, Git actually has a facility to filter what goes into a commit or not. And it's a facility that's called the clean smudge filters. So you can specify a configuration file, a metadata file, a dot file that says, whenever you see this kind of file, I would like you to first go through this filter before you execute the git command. And the interesting thing is that we've been using this facility for while working and implementing Git large file support, which is this open source initiative which we are contributing to make sure that Git can support efficiently with any number of storage backends large files, which historically has been a big problem with Git, and we hope to solve it with the Git LFS. So this is an aside, but it's a project that I am very excited about. Next question. Can you use Git commands to change the progress of Jira tickets? It's a very interesting question. It's one of the answer is one that I'm very happy and excited about, and it's something that we've already announced and we have for quite a while, actually, I think last year. So we have a deep integration between Jira and Bitbucket, both the server and cloud. And one of the things we have is automatic transitions. So as you create your Jira workflow, you can create the triggers that will change the state of a Jira ticket based on pushes, pull, any events that are connected to a Git repository. So the answer is yes. You can change the progress of a Jira ticket and completely manage it through your development workflow by just changing statuses or committing, generating commits or updating pull requests, which makes free developers from the burden to having to go to Jira and change statuses, and at the same time allows team leads, managers, and people more familiar with Jira to check the status of the issues directly in Jira without having to go and check the status on the version control systems. So another question is, what advantages does Subtree offer in comparison to Git submodules? I answered to this during the presentation, but I can briefly repeat those. And so those are some of the advantages of using Git Subtree. Is, for example, for the people that just use the parent project and then that do not have to manage dependencies, there's nothing to learn, because all the content that you need, including the subprojects, is stored in the normal regular Git repositories. And only the people assigned to updating the libraries, updating the dependencies, those are the people that need to learn the Git Subtree commands. The other benefit compared to Git submodules is that Git Subtree stores information completely into normal commits. So it's very simple to see when a certain library was updated, because there is a special merge related to a subtree. And it's a bit harder to understand what happened to Git submodules, in my experience. And also another positive advantage is, yes, as I just mentioned, that you can get a sense for when the integrations happened. So it's relatively more transparent. Let me see. Next question. What's the difference between git commit --interactive and git add -p? It's a good question, and the answer is git commit interactive is a superset of git add -p. But for those that don't know, git add -p allows you to add a file to the staging area interactively. But in general, what you specify, what you do with this add, you do a single file. So you've been working on this file and you want to make sure you commit multiple commits depending on the changes. And then you can do git add -p and the path to that file. And you will be dropped immediately into that famous, do you want to stage this hunk? Just for that file. So Git Commit Interactive allows you to actually select on which file you want to operate, and you can do more actions than just deciding what to add to the staging area. So you have more choice. Git Commit Interactive, as I said, is a superset of git add -p. When will large repository uploads be available for Bitbucket? We can't comment on roadmaps, unfortunately. It's a hard requirement of this sort of videos, but nonetheless, I am very excited for Git LFS, and we have announced that we are actively working on it and we're making great progress on it, and so it should happen relatively soon, where soon is something I can't specify more than that. So keep an eye on our blog posts, on our announcements, on our mailing lists, and hopefully you will get an answer at one point. That's all I can say. Next question, how does subtree handle branches? Can you switch subtree's branch? Yeah, the answer is how does it handle it? So whenever the person that's updating the library or whenever the developer needs to tweak one of the dependencies, he is free to do a git subtree pull where instead of pulling master or instead of pulling git version 1.0, they can pull 1.1, 1.2, 5.0. So there's always a possibility to pull and update a subtree to a different version, and that will result in an update that is just a single commit. So it's fairly easy and painless to update a dependency when you use git subtrees. Hope that was clear enough. Another question, let's see. Can you split commits in source tree? So for those that don't know, we have a visual client, both for Mac and for Windows, that allows you to, manage Git repository without having to resort to the command line. And since the beginning, the beginning of source tree, there has been a native experience where you can always say this change to this file, and you can decide what to add to the staging area or not. So it's actually part of the tool since the beginning. So I think we have crossed all the time that we had at its disposal. So I think that's it for today. Thanks to everyone who sent in questions. If you have more questions and you want us to answer, so you can ask those on answers.atlassian.com or ping us on any social network of your choosing with the hashtag AskBitbucket. Keep an eye on developer.atlassian.com/blog for the latest news, and don't forget to click the subscribe button to get the latest videos. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next time.